How's it going, everybody? And welcome to another episode of the Barely There podcast. As always, I'm Duke Coughlin. You can follow me on Twitter at @ThatPodGuyDuke. And I'm joined by the Ayatollah of Capicola, Lucas Perfetti. You can follow him at LucasPerfetti46. Be sure to follow the pod at that Barely There pod. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Join the chat. Join the chat right now. If you're checking us out on Twitter, you're trying to get on the chat. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to read your comments, so try to get on that YouTube. We'll post the link up here in a second. But anyway, Chicago Bears, yet another primetime game. That's 2 in a row. I honestly do not understand why they gave us so many primetime games this year, just kind of understanding what we were coming into. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of the Justin Fields effect. Maybe it was a little bit of the new head coach deal because we just were so lame duck and out of energy after the second year of Matt Nagy. So, I mean, I could see that definitely play into it. But Lucas, just kind of bringing you in here. So the spread right now for the Bears is plus 7.5. The money line is plus 300, and the over-under is 40. Obviously, with the Bears going on the road, they are not going to be the favorite. It's going to be hard for any iteration of the Chicago Bears right now to be favored over Bill Belichick, regardless of where you play. Doesn't matter if we play in a fucking sandlot on the south side of Chicago. It doesn't matter if we play in Maine. It don't matter. But anyway, how you feeling about the line? How you feeling about the game? Just overall thoughts. And how are you today, Lucas? Because I don't know if anybody asked you that today.
I'm actually great, dude. I switched from coffee to tea. So I feel like a little less jittery. I feel a little bit more fucking one with myself. So that's what I got going on. Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking about getting a cold tub and putting it on my balcony and just busting that bitch open. I see this Canadian dude on social media all the time that just breaks open a ice bath in the morning and just jumps into it. And I'm like, man, I got to do that. That would wake me the fuck up. It's supposed to be good for blood pressure too. And if you're the Ayatollah of Capicola, you got to worry about shit like that. In terms of the line, man, let's be real here. We're going to find a way to convince ourselves that the Bears are going to win because we do that every single week, and we're going to predict them to win. And, even though it might go against what we actually feel in our minds, our hearts are going to do that. But it's a rat line, 7.5. I said the exact same thing about the Vikings. That is not a football number. In my opinion, if you're going to take the Patriots, my thought is buy it all the way to 9.5. There are some games where they'll lose by 8. The Bears lost by 8. There might be a situation where maybe the Bears have 6 and the Patriots have 14 and the Bears have to go for 2 after they score a touchdown, if that happens. But overall, I think it's a rat line. So I'd probably go with the Bears in the points. Over under, I think it's going to go over. I think we've seen such a strong trend and people are just starting to get on it. People are noticing that their fantasy scores are going down, things like that. We're seeing a lot less touchdowns. And then that there was a stat that came out yesterday before the Thursday night game that the Cardinals have only let up 6.7 points on average in the second half. They let up 21. So I think it's about time to start hitting overs. I think games are going to start going over. Offenses, the defense always starts faster than the offenses. And I think we're going to start seeing more offense now.
Well, I mean, doesn't that kind of feel like that's how it is around the league? This year,
it's just a trend.
It's just been a really slow start for offenses. And, I kind of alluded to earlier on in the year where it's our defensive coordinator is starting to finally catch up with the offensive explosion going on. I don't think that's something that will last. I kind of agree with your point that something eventually has to give, honestly, with offenses around the league. But it's very obvious that defensive coordinators came into this year doing their homework throughout the entire offseason, because I think teams were sick of getting killed by the RPO and it wasn't by Josh Allen. You know what I mean? I feel like defenses were getting sick of getting gashed with rhythm routes by Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean?
I think they're sick of the stretch zone scheme, to be honest. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's why I'm kind of worried, because we got Matt Nagy at the tail end of the trend of hiring read coaches. And now it seems like defenses are catching up to really, it started with Vic Fangio with that Rams game in 2018, when he kind of cracked that code on how to attack the wide zone and how to really limit the running game from that wide zone to put a lot more pressure on the quarterback. So I think we're starting to see that too. It's just been, 50% of the offenses in the league right now have this wide zone going on. And yeah, man, I 20% it's been down scoring in general, 20% across the board. So it's not just the Bears thing, it's an NFL thing.
Well, I mean, I've always been under the impression that football can only change so much, but the game stays the same. Like trends change, like the game evolves. Like I feel like that's the word that everybody likes to use. But at the end of the day, I mean, outside of, officiating changes that the NFL decides to make every single year to protect the quarterback, like the game itself can only change so much fundamentally. And I think we see that honestly with a guy like Bill Belichick. Like he's not somebody who necessarily like goes with the brand new trend with everything they do on offense. I think he might have messed around with it a little bit more when they had a guy like Cam Newton who could, probably effectively run that modern offense. Well,
He'll evolve
effectively.
it. Yeah, he'll evolve it for sure. But like even Eberflus commented in his press conference, they asked him, "What do you think the difference is between Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones?" And he was like, "Honestly, I don't see that big of a difference because the Patriots do the Patriot offense. Like it's been the Patriot offense for 20 fucking years. And yeah, it'll evolve and maybe run through tight ends or your slot or your occasional wide receiver when you got a guy like wasn't Dorsett one of their big receivers back in the day. I know Randy Moss is one that like they really started to run through wide receivers, but they kind of evolve and really adapt to their talent and what they have and what their quarterback's good at. So when you're constantly telling the defense, this is what we're good at, let's see if you can stop it, and they can't, that's the most effective offense. It's not following a trend or anything like that. It's saying, this is what we do very, very fucking well. I dare you to stop it. And if you can, then we're going to have something that's going to come off of that.
Well, and that's how you go from the way that they ran the offense with Tom Brady compared to how they ran it with Cam Newton, dude. It was night and day. It wasn't that they set it back because like Cam couldn't do like make throws that Brady couldn't. It's just like that wasn't the same skill set. And you even see that with like how they brought in Mac Jones. They're running almost the identical offense to how they kind of run at Alabama, with fucking kind of taking the underneath, being able to run the ball with different running backs in the backfield, win the line of scrimmage, and be able to take the occasional shot down the field. And, they have guys like that down there. I feel like we all rave about N'Keal Harry and how he didn't get opportunities, but like Jacoby Myers is kind of the biggest reason why like he kind of took the spotlight as that drafted receiver. And I really like the point you made because that's something we complained about with like Matt Nagy, you know what I mean, with not being able to use the talent that he has to effectively run an offense. He's just continuing to like want to run the offense he wants to run regardless of the talent he has. Whereas like Belichick has stood the test of time with that. And I feel like you see that with a lot of different coaches. I feel like you even see that ironically, even just talking about Matt Nagy, we see that with Andy Reid. And that's like why Andy Reid is one of the best offensive minds in all of football, or honestly, one of the best offensive minds of all time, in my opinion, just based on what he can get out of any quarterback that you give him, is he tailors his offense to the type of talent that he has. Like you don't see him taking insane deep shots because they know they're very limited at wide receiver right now. They've gone far more to throwing the football to their tight end because you have Travis Kelce. Of course, you're going to throw to your tight end in that situation, but like they've been force feeding him this year compared to where he was more of a complimentary piece to a guy like Tyreek Hill over the top. So I really see a lot of that with what Belichick does on offense, or in all honesty, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Matt Patricia calling the offense, but that's the exact type of guy that Belichick wants kind of running that type of thing of being like, hey, I don't give a fuck how much you know the current NFL offense. I care more about you understanding football and how it works and being able to control the ball with the talent that we have.
Well, and he's not only building, like you think about it, he has the whole team in mind when he's thinking about how his offensive strategy is going to be, right? Like if he knows he's playing against one of those high-powered offenses, he's going to slow that game down. Like it's very different from game to game. And although it looks the same, and that's why they're so effective, that's why they always have been. And that's why there's years where Belichick had absolutely nothing on offense. I think he went under 500 once in his Patriots career. And, it's like even at those years where they didn't have a ton on offense, it's like their defense would take over. So they knew we're just going to fucking pound the rock. We're going to beef up our O-line. We're going to give our defense rest because all we need to do is put up 20 points and our defense is going to hold them under that. So, dude, there's a reason why he's the best in the business. We talked about the art of coaching before we came on with that Saban and Belichick documentary that's on HBO. It's fucking incredible if you haven't seen it. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend watching it. But that's something that they emphasized is being able to teach your coaches. And, you can have Matt Patricia call plays because he's calling plays within the structure of what Bill Belichick set for him. And that's kind of something that I see, not comparing Flus to Belichick, but that's something I really like about Eberflus is that by all reports, everyone knows their job. Everyone knows their defined role. They know what they're supposed to be doing. They know when they're coming up short. Everything is measured. That's a huge thing, man. So
Well, and even to that point, Lucas, not to cut you off, I don't know if you had much else
No,
going
that's
there.
all I had. That's all I had.
Okay, I mean, not even to cut that off, but it feels like that's kind of a trend that we've brought up Eberflus with Belichick, and like that's not a direct comparison. I don't want people to take that out of context, obviously, but like they do have similarities in that sense where like if something isn't working on the offensive side of the ball, even as a defensive coach, you're starting to see a little bit more of Eberflus kind of taking the reins of being like, listen, this isn't working with the players we have on the field. Like, I'm going to let you call your plays and whatnot, but like, I'm going to give a little bit of input of like how I feel like this should be being run. And I feel like Belichick does a really good job of that because, people might forget just because Belichick's been a head coach for so long. He was defense coordinator way back in the day for the New York Giants when Parcells was there. So like
he was the original guru, like
yeah.
of defense, right? Like he was the original, like, everyone else had Buddy Ryan was a smart guy, but he produced like dominating defenses. Belichick was the only one to completely change schemes for each game, depending on what teams needed. Like he was that original fucking guy that looks like he should be teaching at MIT that is now a head coach and is extremely respected because his results always showed, and even took Lawrence Taylor a little bit of time, but now that's like one of Lawrence Taylor's favorite guys.
Well, and I think you even see it like when you hear him talk about Lawrence Taylor. I don't know like what the question was exactly a couple of years ago, but
with whenever you can get, he's like, you're talking about Lawrence Taylor here.
Whenever you can get a good whenever you can get like a good answer out of Belichick, you asked a good question, and he talked about Lawrence Taylor for a couple minutes, and this is an answer that always stuck with me. And he kind of talked about like around the lines of like it didn't I knew I could do nearly anything on defense. And I like that you brought up the fact that like he uses different schemes, he uses different fronts. Like they will throw you anything and everything if
even
they
on
think
Madden
they have
respects
to do it.
It's just listed as multiple. They don't, but he doesn't let them use his name.
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's just the most Belichick shit ever. But like he would talk about how Lawrence Taylor was so good that like it did not matter what the scheme was, he could find a way to make him fit. And that's just the type of like and it kind of goes to my original point. Like Belichick started as like the defensive coach. That's how everyone knew him. But like if you didn't know that, you would only think of him just as a football coach because he has evolved so much, and you can just see how much he knows about football in general. You know what I mean? Like if Belichick had to call an offense for a game, I feel like he'd be able to do it. Like that's
1,000%. I'm sure he has.
And that's where and I don't want to just sit here and just slob on Belichick, obviously, but like obviously me and you respect him a lot. But that's kind of like a point I like to make to people who always say like we need an offensive head coach or we need a defensive head coach. And it's like, give me a football guy. Give me a guy who maybe specializes on one side of the ball or another, but give me somebody who genuinely understands the game and is able to give feedback to his coordinators that is actually like that actually has a little bit of oomph to it. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel that a little bit with Eberflus so far. Like he seems like just a genuinely knowledgeable football guy. Obviously defense is bread and butter, but like, I really feel like he can grow into just being like understanding of a situation, understanding that something's not working on the offensive side of the ball, and using his defensive dialect to be able to tell an offensive coordinator like Luke Getsy, like, hey, this is the defensive front they're giving you. This is what your show is. This is why they're giving you this front, and this is how you counteract it.
I mean, dude, if you play a sport for 22 years and then go directly into coaching and coach for another 22, you're going to know a lot about the fucking sport. Like, it's just the way it is. I obviously Flus didn't start playing football at 0, but I would assume his dad strapped the fucking helmet to him and put a little stickum on his hand, and put the ball in his hand. But realistically, like,
do you think he had a dot?
A what?
You think he had the sticker?
Oh, no. Flus looks like he's in pretty good shape. I don't think he was a striper. I don't think
he had to have been like pushing the limit though. He probably like had a body program every freaking off season, so he knew like I'm gonna be like
7.5
under.
Yeah. At like 7.5, he was sitting in a sauna, fucking covered in garbage bags, just like, just so he can return a kick.
I mean, dude, I have that picture of Eberflus when he was in college, man. He was he's a fucking shit brick house, man.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like at first I thought he was kind of, because he's always smiley, and no, he looks like the type of motherfucker that'll snap. But if you want to talk about Belichick as a football guy and who calls plays for him, whatever, just look at his coaching tree after they leave. What do? Fucking nothing. All of his prize students have done absolutely dick as a head coach. The only one that ever really did anything so far is who is that? Vrabel. Vrabel has had a pretty good career as a head coach, but like, McDaniel's experiment looks like it's failing again. Tough division either way, but looks like it's failing again. Patricia failed. Flores, we have differing opinions, but that wasn't a good situation, even though the organization was actively trying to tank while he was trying to win games. Definitely a conflict there. But yeah, like, I forgot what you were saying about fitting molds. Oh, yeah, adjusting, finding ways to adjust schemes. That was actually a good point for us to transition, but we didn't. But let's go back to it because it looks like the Chicago Bears are actually reevaluating a lot of things. And I think that's a good sign. And that's something else that's kind of in that line of, hey, let's evaluate, let's fucking figure out where we're at, let's reset and let's adjust some things. Because he's talked about how this mini bye, you think they play Thursday night and then Monday they get 11 days, which is not very common. A lot of times if you play that Thursday game and you don't have a bye or you didn't have a bye the week before, you're going to play that Sunday. So they had 11 days to readjust some things. It looks like they're going to shuffle the offensive line. If I'm not mistaken, let's knock on wood, Sam Mustipher will not be starting at center. It will be Lucas Patrick. It took 7 weeks of us freaking the fuck out. But it's finally going to happen. It looks like Schofield's going to be at left guard, and then Jones, Jenkins, and Borum will remain in their spots. But, I mean, that is a good sign. That's what I'm looking forward to most in this game, to see, hey, how does the new offensive line look without Mustipher? Because there were problems outside of Mustipher. Mustipher was getting his dick blown off. Don't get me wrong, but there were problems outside of it. But I also want to see how they adjust their scheme because we've called back to this multiple times. Where is the triple option in the red zone? Where is the zone read plays? Where is we saw it yesterday with Kyler Murray. You needed a first down on 4th down. What happened? It was a fucking play action, rollout. You have an option. You have one option or race me to the corner. Justin Fields is extremely fucking fast, dude. Did you see that play where Khalil Herbert busted off that run and you see Fields from all the way in the back of the screen just absolutely book it down, like 100%, not a loaf. Beautiful thing to see. So I'm interested to see how they're going to utilize their quarterback's legs in the red zone and not just like, oh, let's have them scramble around or let's have a design QB draw. No, like let's give multiple options, whether it's an RPO, some of those things. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of those elements because, like you said, it looks like Flus is starting to take a little bit more influence. And I think that's part of it because Luke Getsy is treating Justin Fields like he's fucking Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and it's funny because, bringing up Luke Getsy, I actually, as much as I hate to admit it, I actually went back and I watched a little bit of Aaron Rodgers' interview with PMT, and just for laughs, just because I hate Aaron Rodgers.
I went and watched it because there's so many clips coming around. I had to watch it.
Like I always love listening to Big Cat just shit on Aaron Rodgers to his face. There's honestly not much that's better than that. But I actually caught a little bit of a tidbit the other day, and I'm like, you know what? There's actually something to this. And it was Aaron talking about how he does not think Matt LaFleur's scheme is perfect. He think
there's flaws
in it. Yeah. And I thought that was one that's a quote that really stuck out to me because the more you think about it, the more you kind of see I brought it up earlier in the year, where is the West Coast concepts that we thought we were going to be getting? You know what I mean? Where are the slant routes? Where are the rhythm throws? Where are the playing with feel? Where is running the football and kind of setting that up? You know what I mean? Where is being able to go under center, do the exact same thing you're doing out of shotgun, except you could just time it a little bit better with your 3-step drop. You know what I mean? Just simple things like that. And it kind of struck a chord because it's we have not seen that with Denver. We've not seen that with Green Bay this year, and we're certainly not seeing it in Chicago right now. You know what I mean? And you could say what you want about Russell Wilson with Denver. I mean, I know you've already told me just absolutely plenty about it. But when it's happening with Aaron in Green Bay, where he looks off kilter when he's making throws, that's when you start to be like, okay, is there something up with how this scheme is being run? You know what I mean? Because I thought, with how Aaron Rodgers plays, it's hard to tell that he's not in a West Coast system just because he's such a rhythm guy. And you always saw that with a guy like Devontae Adams. That's where you see those slant routes. That's where you see those out routes, those back shoulder throws, and being able to kind of hit a play action because you're in such good rhythm and being able to make that throw down the field over the middle because you're setting it up with the run. That's just something I have not seen in the offense. And I want to start I want to see Getsy start scaling it back because I feel like he's trying to throw he's trying to do too much, man. And I thought one of the big ththings that Aaron brought up, and I don't want to give him too much credit, but he did make some good points on this. Like, why do we have to run emotion on every single play?
Yeah, it fucks with tempo. That's a very good point. And there were times even when we were at the game together, I'm like, dude, you only have fucking 2 minutes and 30 seconds, like, or whenever it was 3:30 before they went for it on fourth. Before the drive that they fucking lost on the not getting the touchdown. But regardless, like, I'm like, why aren't they moving faster? Like, what the fuck is going on? How are you using 30 seconds of a play clock when you only have 3 minutes left? Like, I understand if you get into your own or the opposing 30 and you're like, okay, we got 2 timeouts still. Let's slow it down. Let's burn a little bit of this clock because it's now or never, right? But like in that situation, you're at your own fucking 40. Like, why aren't you moving faster? I just didn't understand it. And I think that has something to do with it, but I think it's just more so you're right. Like Luke Getsy is putting too much on Justin Fields' plate. I think that's all it really comes down to. Like, look at Justin fucking not Justin, got Jalen Hurts. Look at Jalen Hurts, like that's someone I would like to see the growth from Justin Fields, like instead of Josh Allen. I prefer a Jalen Hurts comparison because Jalen Hurts, while Justin is more talented than him, a lot of the same criticism through his first couple of years. And it's just like, as you slowly implement things and being like, okay, now we can do 2 rhythm throws, right? Instead of having just that first read that you're coming off them. What's up, RX Ram GX Gaming? How you doing, brother? But just little stuff like that, like slowly evolve your offense and do your best to shield your quarterback's inabilities or what he needs to work on in his first couple of years so you can get him rolling, get him confident. So then now, like 5 years into it, you're like, oh, this is a polished fucking quarterback,
Well, but I mean, that also goes into, I would say the biggest difference with, say, Justin Fields and Jalen Hurts is like there were a lot of points, especially in like year 2 with Hurts, where you're like, ooh, is he the guy? You know what I mean? And even a little bit in, year 3, you're like, okay.
Well, this is year 3 for him. He's going fucking nuts.
Yeah, I'd say, all right. That's right. Okay. Yeah, because year 1, it looked rough right off the bat. Looked
very bad.
Rough. It looked like Doug Peterson was making that move to just save his job and kind of throwing Carson Wentz under the bus, which he was, but at the same time, like it just didn't seem like he's prepared for that. And like year 2, like, yeah, he showed flashes, but there were still a lot of growing pains. Like there were a lot of Eagles fans that wanted Watson bad because of what they saw out of Jalen Hurts in year 2. You know what I mean? Like Eagles fans were they were talking about starting Gardner Minshew because I believe Minshew started
awful last year. Yeah,
exactly, dude. It just didn't look good. So like the difference with that though is like the Eagles had the same front office when they drafted him, and they kind of decided like, hey, we're gonna be patient. We're gonna let every growing pain possible happen. Like whatever, we're only gonna go as far as he's gonna take us in these first 2 years. And I mean, honestly, he got a playoff berth in that second year. A lot of that had to do with some of the more talented offensive players and some of their run defense, but still, regardless, it got them to a first round game where they got their ass kicked by Tampa Bay. But that's neither here nor there. They got there. But like now in year 3, you're seeing him get a chance to really take off. He was able to look at year film and see everything that he did wrong and find what he really needed to work on in the offseason and really get a chance to not really be introduced to his offensive coordinator and his head coach, but to like actively already have that relationship and work into it in year 2. You know what I mean? So like it's a different situation because I don't know if Justin Fields is going to be afforded that same opportunity. You know what I mean? Especially considering Ryan Poles did not draft Justin Fields.
Yeah, well, with Jalen Hurts too, like a lot of the ugly stuff was talent issues as well. It wasn't like, because I've always been a big fan of Jalen Hurts, the guy. Leadership is at an elite level. He's always been great the way he handled the Tua situation. Like I can go on and on about how much I like Jalen Hurts, the guy, but I always thought he was going to be that journeyman next era of Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh McCown type. Hey, we need a stopgap. We need someone that can, steady the ship for a year or 2 that's respectable in the locker room type thing, right? You're Ryan Fitzpatrick. And that's kind of what I thought his career was going to be. And to be honest, like the arm talent still is not there. He still is not overthrowing guys. or he's still not able to like hit guys in stride on deep routes very well. Sometimes he does, but for the most part, he's not consistently accurate down the field. And he not even accuracy. He's not able to get the ball there for the most part. But they found a way to adjust to that, right? You got one of the best mid and short route type dudes like AJ Brown. So really, he's a game manager as a passer, and he's efficient with it, but his legs make him dangerous. So now they found a way to be like, okay, well, let's highlight his fucking skill, which is his legs, and then let's surround him to make his other deficiencies not exist, right? And like that's what they did. So I'm hoping the Bears are on a similar plan. I would hope with Ian Cunningham in the building, having that Philly, you got two guys that came from great organizations. Not that means shit, but when you look at Ryan Pace, he came from the Saints, and the Saints have always kind of played a risky game with the cap, with how they're structuring things, and they're kind of going through it now after their Hall of Fame quarterback dropped out. You're seeing the fucking Eagles specifically do it with guys like Nick Foles, Jalen Hurts, like not top tier talent, Carson Wentz, who looks like an absolute fucking bum right now. So, let's just, dude, and you think about when the year they won that Super Bowl, they had fucking all 5 of their offensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken, won an all-pro at some point or another. And I think 3 of them were all-pro that year. They had Fletcher Cox. They had Bennett. Like, they had a fucking sick defensive line. That's what it all starts up front. As cliche as it is, like, it all starts up front.
Well, dude, and that's why, and I know people like to complain, all over Bears Facebook, Twitter, honestly, wherever Bears fans are and whatever, hey, we all have our own fucking opinions, but like, that's why it's kind of frustrating that we did not invest more heavily into the offensive line. You know what I mean? Because like if you're giving a guy like Justin Fields time, and I'm talking like, like we can look at the numbers and see that he does have a little bit of pocket time, but I do feel like his legs do make up for that a bit as well. And he does hold on to the ball a bit long. I don't think any of that stuff can be disputed, but it would just be nice to actually see him consistently with a clean pocket, so he's not paranoid to the point where he has to abandon a clean pocket because he thinks a rush is coming. And he actually touched on it this week. He had a really good quote about it, where Justin was kind of talking about how one of the biggest things like he was having his coaches do on the sidelines was like calm him down. Like, you need to hit a point where, like, I'm looking at this on a tablet where I have this clean pocket and I'm bailing out at the first sign of trouble, because there's even just a slight interior pressure just based on like how other situations have worked out like that. And even Lucas Patrick, he owned a lot of that in this week's interviews as well. He's kind of said like, Justin's a guy that I really believe in. This is a guy you can't convince me he's not going to be a future star. We need to just flat out give him more time because, like, even when he's getting clean pockets, he's become so freaking paranoid just by getting hit so early. You know what I mean? And that's something.
And I will give credit. I will, like, as someone that's been pretty critical of his time to throw, like, I think that's fair. Like, I understand why he's bailing so quickly, or why he's, it's the times that he sits in the pocket and goes through his reads and hesitates. That's really the only thing that gets me. But when he bails because it seems like fucking someone's going to get pushed back into him, that doesn't bother me at all because it's true. Like, the state of his offensive line is pretty rough right now.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and that's something that he's going to have to continue to work through, I mean, obviously it sucks to have to sit in there and think you're going to get a clean pocket and then just get absolutely smacked. But hopefully this shuffle on the front offensive line is something that kind of helps that out a little bit. You know what I mean? Really kind of helps change that thought process because, it's easy to say like, Justin, you just got to get over that as an NFL quarterback, and to a certain point, yeah, he does. But that's easier said than done for a second-year quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen this. It's a tale as old as time, I think you even look back at like a David Carr from back in the day, one of the more talented number 1 overall picks at quarterback to ever come out. And he was paranoid, like to the point of like being deathly scared in the pocket because his first 2 seasons, he got fucking smacked almost every single play. I think like his first 3 seasons in the league, like he led the league in sacks every single year. And that you can say that doesn't take a toll. You can say like that's just, gotta buckle up your bootstraps and lace up your belt and and take your vitamins and say your prayers and you know what I mean? But like that's just not how it works, man.
Take your vitamins and say your prayers.
Well, I mean, in a sense, it's kind of what you have to do when you're getting smacked every play, but you can't just
wash down your vitamin B with extra calcium milk, please.
That will break the most confident people in the world just getting hit every single play or every other play, you know, and it gets to the point where, like, I think one of the biggest things, and I've been saying this really since Justin's come off from the beginning of the year, just struggling. Like, I think he's trying so hard to make plays happen when he does have time, or when he does have something setting up downfield where he's rolling out, where I feel like he's gotten a little bit better the past few weeks, just kind of taking that, like, that 4 or 5 yard run for the first down compared to trying to take a shot down the field that's not there. You know what I mean? Just because, like, he feels like, this is my shot. Like, this is my opportunity. I'm getting this opportunity. And it's actually, I had a fucking clean pocket. Like, I have to make a great throw on this. And, like, you're forcing things that just are not there. And that's like that Houston game, man. That's how you get those terrible interceptions, because, like, he sees something there. His eyes light up and he feels like he has to make that throw, but it ends up just being a giant mistake, you know? And he just needs to understand that, like, even if your offensive line isn't blocking well, you can't try to overcompensate. Like, it's a team game. As much as that sucks to say when you're getting smacked in the pocket or the run's getting stopped or whatever, like, you need to be able to accept that, like, you're only a part of the system. You're not the entire system. You know what I mean? I feel like even the best quarterbacks accept that to a certain point.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you know at some point you're going to need the horses. You can't do everything on your own. You know, it's impossible. Yeah, that's true. He does need to find those quick openings. And even Andrew Janoko said something about that in an interview. Like, we've been working with Justin about how he needs to throw the ball before the guy's open, how he needs to throw it before guys are coming out of their break. I mean, even yesterday, to recall the Thursday Night Football again, there was one play where Hopkins was running like a 14-yard comeback, and by the time he turned around, it was on him. I mean, great catch by him, because I think it was a little bit early, but Murray felt the pressure coming. He knew he was going to be coming out of his break, and he just fucking launched it. And that's the kind of stuff we need to see from Justin Fields. I think we will see it in time. But
I feel like that's something with slant routes, dude. Like,
I would love to see some slant routes, but to be honest, the slant route was the one that got batted and picked. I guess you can consider that a post in the thing, in the red zone, but that was a quick in breaking route. I will say that. But before we get into the Patriots, I would like to acknowledge this from Ram GX Gaming. Not sure if you mentioned it, but what about these DJ Moore trade rumors? I know the best course is to draft and not keep trading picks, but Josh Allen's career changed when he got Diggs. Duke, you want to go first, or should I?
I'll go ahead and start on that. I do like the Diggs point. I don't believe DJ Moore is at the Stephon Diggs level, even at where Stephon was at that time. The biggest thing with Stephon Diggs was he was kind of playing a backseat role to a guy in Adam Thielen, who him and Cousins had chemistry right out of the gate. You know,
weird
what I mean?
Type of scissoring, yeah. And he was. But
I mean, dude, if we're being totally honest, though, early career Adam Thielen was a fucking dog. Like,
yeah, but Diggs was better. In my opinion, Diggs was always better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, but, like, you have a guy that's already been in the league for a couple years that's eating, you know what I mean? It's hard to take that away from him, even with a talented guy right next to him, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, even to, like, a way lesser extent, think of, like, Peyton Manning with freaking Marvin Harrison when he gets Reggie Wayne. Like, it took Reggie a little bit to kind of take over those targets, but it's like, when you have Marvin Harrison for that long, of course you're going to feed that type of guy. DJ Moore didn't have that. That's kind of the biggest point I'm trying to get at here. DJ Moore was drafted to be that number one guy, you know, and Robbie Anderson was brought in to be the secondary role. And it seemed like, while he did have some pretty good seasons, no doubt, I don't want to, like, diminish at all what DJ Moore does. I just feel like Stephon Diggs is was at a different level, even at that point, than where DJ Moore is right now, because he had to kind of deal with that. But anyway, neither here nor there. The biggest thing that kind of worries me about the trade package potentially for a guy like DJ Moore, because I don't mind trading picks to get a wide receiver, especially a contract controlled wide receiver. But I think that's the key, is the contract control, even with it being a bit of an expensive contract to send, you know, with a lot of the dead money that Carolina would end up having to eat on that. Teams are willing to spend a lot in trade capital to have a guy that they can trade for and immediately have a contract with, that they don't have to worry about negotiating a contract from the get-go. You know what I mean? Because, like, you look at, like, AJ Brown, they had to sign him immediately. You look at, like, DeAndre Hopkins, they had to sign him immediately. You look at Devontae Adams, they had to sign him immediately. You know what I mean? With DJ Moore, like, he just signed an extension. Like, that's not even something you're gonna have to worry about. And you're not gonna have to worry about that dead cap either. You know what I mean? That's going to be almost entirely paid by Carolina unless they can really swing a deal.
I would assume that they have to rework it because they can't eat any more dead money. They'll be over the cap this year. So like I feel like DJ Moore, it really all depends on what he costs.
Well, and that's the thing. I guess I'll let you take over here because like I just kind of want to give my closing thoughts to it, because you look at the McCaffrey trade and everybody looks at like Christian McCaffrey as like, of course he's going to get traded for a package like that. I think it was like what, a second, a third, and a fourth or something like that.
It was a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth.
Yeah, I think it was a second, third, fifth this year, and then the fourth next year. Something like that.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's a big fucking package for a guy like
a
Christian
running
McCaffrey.
back that you're paying six. But I think what's it called takes a lot of that cap hit.
Well, and mind you, and that's fair. Mind you, the thing with McCaffrey though, because everyone always looks at Christian McCaffrey as like, yeah, he's one of the best running backs in the league. Of course, he's going to demand that trade. He hasn't played 16 games since 2019. I think the most he's played in a single season since 2019 is 7. That's so for that to be the trade where we are right now after that many years of injury prone, it almost seems like a little bit of a deal, because you feel like if he goes like 2019 mode throughout the last few years, you're gonna have to give up at least a first to get him. You know what I mean? And with where DJ Moore is, a guy who stayed healthy, a guy who's under contract control, a guy who's actually, I'm pretty sure he's a year or two younger than Christian McCaffrey as well. Like, that's going to demand something, especially with the wide receiver market the way it is right now.
That's what
I feel like a lot of teams missed out on that last year, last offseason, and now they're kind of like looking for anything they can grab their hands at. And I would not be surprised if a team tossed a first round pick at fucking at least 2 picks in the first 3 rounds. I would not be surprised someone tossing that DJ Moore, mainly because of contract control, age, and where he is in his prime.
Yeah, see, it's kind of difficult, right? Because like, it's hard to judge because different front offices have different values. And like Marquise Brown got a first round and AJ Brown got a first rounder. And I know Marquise Brown has a little bit left on his rookie contract, and that factors into things. And it was a little bit later in the first. I know there's a value chart calculator that a lot of people refer to that I think was created by Bill Belichick, coincidence. But I just feel like AJ Brown is a lot more bang for your buck, even though he's due for an extension, than a Marquise Brown, right? Like, so I don't know. I think DJ Moore falls into the middle between those two. And maybe someone will give up a first, but like you said, depending on who takes the contract, I think that's really what figures into how much he gets. Now, if what's called has to eat all the dead money and you're not tied to him and you have control of him for 3 years, for sure, then I think he's going to go for a first rounder. But like, if you're reworking that contract for, Carolina to only get hit for the sign-on bonuses, and the other team's going to take on that guaranteed money, then I think we're looking at like a second round pick. Look at DJ Moore's production compared to AJ Brown and tell me how like you can justify giving up a first rounder for him. But I guess you could say the same thing about Marquise Brown, right? So it's just weird. Well, I don't hate DJ Moore, the player, and I wouldn't hate the Bears for going after him, to be honest. But I just think that the better option would be Elijah Moore if he was on the trade block, because you're talking about a guy that has 2.5 years left on his contract. He is being forced down the depth chart because the Jets paid Corey Davis and then drafted Garrett Wilson. Owners have to have, look at Zeke versus Tony Pollard. Who's more explosive right now? Who's getting more carries? You're paying a guy in the NFL that's in the Saban documentary as well, Saban and Belichick. If you're paying a guy, or if you give him a certain amount of draft capital or whatever it may be, they're going to get those looks. So he's kind of pissed off. He's probably upset. Like, hey, every time one of these guys go down, I produce at a high level and then I get played down to third fiddle again. So I want to fucking leave. Now they're saying that they're not willing to trade him. It could be a tactic. He's already not going to play this week. That's someone that I think, okay, he went in the second round. He was a first round talent, but he's only, he was a first round talent, but he's only 5'9". So I think that's a big part of why he fell into the second round, but he was like the 34th pick overall. So now you're talking about getting a first round talent with 2 years of contract control. You could probably get it done for a third rounder, especially with where the Bears are picking. The Jets are like, hey, let me fucking cut my losses. We have our receivers anyway. We're going to get a high third round pick out of it. And I think that is a guy, when you talk about someone that you need to get open, someone that's going to run out of the slot and be a safety valve for Justin Fields, that's the guy. I mean, he's extremely fast. He ran like a 4.3, 4.40, but he runs the entire route tree. He can separate with the best of them. Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill had 3.6 yards average separation per route ran. Elijah Moore is at 3.4. This is for 2020 stats or 2021 stats. And Justin Jefferson, another really, a guy that's known for always being open, was only at 3.0. So like that's what we're talking about in terms of his ability to get open and separate. And he can do it from the short to intermediate to deep route. So I think he's really an undervalued player that's not getting enough. And I think that would be a much better route. You have 2 years of contract, 2.5 years of contract control under a second round rookie contract. And to be honest, like if you were going to go ahead and say, grab Elijah Mitchell, you have Darnell Mooney for next year. And if you want to move on from him, very similar skill sets, right? Like if you did want to move on, not that I'm saying if that they should, but if they wanted to move on from Mooney and go ahead and draft like a first round receiver, top 5 receiver or something like that, you could, that it gives you a lot more flexibility,
Well, I think, and I feel like we should bring it up as well. There has been rumors coming out this past week that the Bears are going to look to extend Darnell Mooney in the offseason, but we obviously know how Ryan Poles deals with extensions, so I'm not going to hold my breath quite yet.
He's going to offer him like a bag of fucking Cheerios.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess kind of close out this point and kind of get a little bit back to the Patriots because I feel like we still got to cover a bit. I guess the biggest thing with the DJ Moore situation, kind of when it comes to this trade valuation, is like, contrary to popular belief, I have not seen a single report that DJ Moore has demanded a trade. And I have not seen a single report, even the Panthers directly acknowledged it. Like, we're not looking to trade DJ Moore. So, like, if they are willing to trade him, they're going to play fucking hardball. They are going to wait for that offer.
In my opinion, they just fleeced the 49ers.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they just gave him a running back that can't play 7 games. Like, and I love Christian McCaffrey, but it's just the nature of it. Like,
and now you're going to a team that always has their running backs injured. Like, it's not if, it's when.
I mean, dude, and it sucks because like if McCaffrey does stay healthy, like him in that Shanahan system could actually be
he's gonna disgusting. Go fucking insane.
Him and Debo too, just being on opposite sides of the field at any point it's actually kind of fucking terrifying.
It's lethal, yeah, it's lethal.
And when you have a guy like Garoppolo who can just make the layups and just be able to hand the ball off, that's pretty nice. But yeah, like I would love DJ Moore. I'm with you, Lucas. I'm a big DJ Moore guy. Like I like him as a player. I just feel like the Panthers are they're going to sit on him, man. They have contract control. If they got to go into the offseason with him, I don't think they're losing sleep over that because they want teams to get in a bidding war over him if they are going to trade him. And if they don't, they go into next year with a new quarterback. They go into it like with a kind of a rebuild, and you kind of have a young core there. You know what I mean? To bring in with a new head coach. That's so like there's
something from an owner's perspective too. Who are the top 2 selling jerseys on that team? DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, exactly.
So then what happens to your merchandise sales?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's not like DJ Moore is like when we were talking about trading A-Rob last year, it's not like DJ Moore is like 27 going on 28 or anything. Like, dude, I'm pretty sure he's like 25, 26.
He's young.
If not younger. Like, that's still young enough to like the fact you got him extended is a really good sign. And that's someone you can move into your next era with still, you know what I mean? Like you can because regardless if you're going to be bad or not, you still need a number 1 wide receiver at the end of the day.
25.
So like, yeah, 25 years old. That's Roquan's age. And Roquan is another guy that like you're insanely young.
I don't think you're entering your prime till 26, 27, and it goes till about 30. Yeah.
Exactly. So like you can go into that next era with that. And you see teams do it all the time. The Texans, I mean, fucked up in every way imaginable with Hopkins, but they tried doing it with him as well when they brought in Watson. So I mean, like teams will try to make that work. And while obviously they're not going to not answer the phone, you're going to have to give them something good. And I just feel like either they're going to try to get an overpay at the deadline, or they're just going to take it in the offseason and wait for teams to get into a bidding war, or they are going to stick with them. So, but anyway, moving forward a little bit, just kind of want to get a couple of your thoughts here. So we kind of have this Mac Jones, Bailey Zapp kind of situation playing out right now. And I actually watched Belichick's press conference, and he's just the worst at trying to get answers out of him if you don't like ask the right question, and he'll just smile at you and look at you like for how fucking stupid you are.
I fucking hate how dumb you are.
But like I love the one question that they did give him. He got a pretty good smirk out of it, and he actually laughed a little bit. They're like, so how is the offense going to differ from how we run it with Mac Jones compared to Bailey Zapp? And he's just like, we're going to run our offense. That doesn't change. It doesn't change regardless of who the quarterback is. And it's like, so like that's what he says, but like I've seen a lot of Bailey Zapp over the past few weeks. I feel like he gets in pretty good rhythms, dude. He has a really nice like touch on his football. Like what are some things maybe, Lucas, that you think
I like him better than Mac Jones. I think he's a little bit more of a gunslinger and less of a game manager, and I don't know if the Patriots like that, but I kind of like him. I think he's got a little bit more plus side to him than Mac Jones does. I don't know. And at the end of the day, like they put him in a very good situation as well with how things are structured with the front office, everything like that, them knowing exactly Belichick being like, this is our offense. We're going to run it this way no matter what. And I mean, we've seen Belichick churn out second, third, 6th round picks for fucking 2nd round picks in the draft regularly. You know, Jacoby Brissett, Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Castle, all guys that got traded. So, to be honest, I think Mac Jones gives you a little bit more stability. But I actually think Bailey Zappia might be like, dude, I was at a wedding last week with a bunch of people from Massachusetts, and they were talking about how they like Bailey Zappia more. And they're like, man, we're getting Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe vibes. Like, I know Mac Jones isn't as established, but they're like, I like him better. So I'm sure they're evaluating that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like a lower floor, higher ceiling type guy. Whereas like Mac Jones, like, and we've been saying this since Mac Jones got drafted, like he was just a safe bet of who he is. You know what I mean? Like, you know who he is, you know what you're getting, and you know if you build a system around him, you can win some football games. But Zappy is like, he really has that, like, he can be a low floor 100%, but like he has a lot more star potential. And I think what really held against him, and I really liked his draft profile, honestly, throughout the entire process, he really just kind of got affected by where he played. But dude, he could ball in college, man. And like, there's something like to be said about just the touch on his footballs. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. Like, he knows how to maneuver around a cornerback, I guess would be the best way to put it. Where a lot of guys in the league, you kind of see him get to the point where like they use their arm strength every single throw. You see it a lot with like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, and he has the arm strength to be able to do that. But if a quarterback can understand his arm strength and understand that maybe he doesn't have an absolute gun and he's able to put a ball where he needs to put it just for a wide receiver to get it, and that a corner can't get a good angle at it, there's something to be there's a lot to be said about that in the league. And there's guys who can make big careers about that. You know, I think about a guy like even Chad Pennington back in the day, you know, wasn't a guy who could gash you downfield, but he was just so deadly accurate because he knew exactly where to put the football to where a corner couldn't get to it, and his wide receiver had the best opportunity to get to it. And that's a lot of what I see with Bailey Zappe. I think that's something that we're going to need to be able to focus on. While I say all that, I feel like this is going to need to be another week, and I feel like I say it every single week at this point. This is a week where we really need to get to him. Like, we need to be able to rush the quarterback. Like, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because as good as our secondary is, I don't see Zappe making a lot of mistakes on us if he has a clean pocket.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way, and pass rush is an issue. But one thing I think, for a guy like Flus to be at the bottom of the league every single year in blitzing and then bringing pressure on third down with 1-2 guys, you know, we saw Roquan and Brisker blitz on the same play, I think once or twice in the Washington game. So you're seeing him understand that the defensive line isn't getting there and he's sending pressure. So that's a great adjustment by him. But I think it's going to be one of those games. I mean, you got two coaches that are really good at shortening the game, trying to keep it close. Another reason why I really like the Bears plus 7.5. And really just capitalizing on the other team's mistakes. And the Patriots are much better at that, because you'll see a couple margins of victory there where the Patriots just run their game, but you make 2-3 mistakes, like, they're going to fucking hurt you for it. And you saw them beat the shit out of the Browns, who's another team that's pretty run focused. That's so funny that Belichick put our running game up there with the Browns. Belichick went on a 27-minute rant about how great everyone on the fucking Bears is, because you know that's what he does when he's playing a dog shit team. So
I mean,
That's always great.
if I'm being honest, though, I don't hate the Browns comparison because I really do feel like we have some juice with fucking Herbert and
They just
Montgomery.
have a lot better fucking offensive line, though.
Yeah, no doubt. But I mean, I see both of our running backs just getting an inch of daylight and just making the absolute most of it. I really like the combo that we have. I mean, I've said it multiple times. I really hope we find a way to keep both of them together for past this year because I feel like it can be a really lethal combo, and that helps with that helps with having a mobile quarterback as well. But honestly, on the offensive side of the football, I feel like we covered a little bit on the defense. We need to be able to capitalize. You know, I like the point that you made where like we can't make mistakes because New England will capitalize on him. Belichick will capitalize on them. And dude, New England's defense is beaten up right now, man. Like Lawrence Guy is questionable. That's one of their best. That is their best front guy, best defensive end. I know Jonathan Jones and Jalen Mills. That's their two starting outside corners. They're both questionable. Josh Uche, he's questionable as well. That's their slot guy. Like there are guys in the secondary. If even two of those guys play, you're still going to have a weak spot to where you can kind of take advantage of it. And Justin Fields is going to need to play mistake-free football. You know, I mean, it goes for the entire offense, but like Justin's not going to be able to like force plays and throw bad interceptions. Like that just flat out can't happen. He can't have footballs get bad at the line of scrimmage. I'm hoping with them kind of having a little bit weaker of a pass rush than they've had in the past. I guess just playmaker wise. I mean, they still find ways to get to the quarterback because it's Belichick. But
yeah, but they only have 11 sacks on the year. Like they're not. I think that there are opportunities in the passing game. I don't think that their passing defense is as strong as it used to be. And I mean, I think you make a great point. Like, not only do we not have to make mistakes, but also like tendencies, right? I'm very happy that there was a mini bye before this Patriots game, because if the Bears wanted to have a shot in this game, they cannot do anything statistically that is a tendency for them, right? Because any type of tendency or tell that the Bears had, Belichick has it down. His team is going to be prepared for it. It will be a tackle for loss. Like they really do need to throw a different type of game plan at the New England Patriots. Otherwise, it's going to be a long fucking Monday night. So I think there's just as much of a challenge on Getsy and Matt Eberflus as there is on Justin Fields.
Well, and I think really a big way to do that, I guess, if I was Luke Getsy kind of looking at this, depending on who in the secondary plays for New England, I would try to attack a little bit of the short game. I mean, I keep bringing up fucking slants, but my God, like if there are injuries in the secondary and you can get a little bit of an inside release, like this would be the game to do it because like they're obviously going to focus on our run game. Like every team in the league is used to how much we run the football. We run it a lot. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing. We have an insanely strong run game. We should be running the ball as much as we are. But like I do like the point you make about tendency breaking because this is a guy where you have to play a little bit of fucking chess with him. You know what I mean? Like Belichick, if he respects your run game, he's going to do everything in his power to fucking stop your run game. And he's going to try to make you with beat you with the pass. That's why you kind of need to really catch him off guard and keep him a little bit off balance with being able to effectively throw the football and take chunks of yardage at a time. Because once they stop focusing on the run, that's where you gash them. I feel like that is going to be your best bet against this defense and a very well coached Bill Belichick. But honestly, like this, we've talked about tests for Matt Eberflus throughout the season. I'm really interested to see how this coaching matchup goes. Like, I really want to see, like, because every coach in the league kind of goes in New England with a little bit extra Foxborough. That's what I was trying to think of. They go into Foxborough with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, like, hey, this is the guy I'm across is probably the best coach of all time. I'm going to show him what I'm made of and try to garner a little bit of respect there. And I believe Eberflus and Belichick have known each other throughout the years.
I'm sure they had to have crossed paths, especially with the Saban connection.
Yeah, there's definitely probably a mutual respect there. And I mean, obviously, even going a little bit further, I mean, Flus has the connection with Brian Dable and Bill Belichick have a pretty strong relationship as well. So I feel like there's a little bit of that kind
They've definitely given each other the nod a couple times, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. Like I see what you're doing over in Indianapolis, but yeah, so I really, really want to see Eberflus kind of coach a really tight, good game and hit a point where, like, I know it sounds crazy to get into a chess match with Bill, but like you have to almost make him overthink things. That's where you're going to be at your absolute best because when Bill is chill on the sidelines, chances are they're kicking the absolute shit out of you. When Bill is on the sidelines, really insanely honed in, that's where you're really giving him a good test, and that's where I feel like our best shot's going to be for this.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we kind of know what their defensive game plan is going to be, and that's because he's kind of shown that tendency with young quarterbacks. He's going to make them essentially grow on the field. Like if you want to beat us, you're going to grow on the field. So you better believe they're going to be playing two shell. They're going to be walking up a bunch of different guys into the box, walking up to the line of scrimmage. You're not going to know who's
Mitch
blitzing.
too.
Well, yeah, Mitch actually went fucking nuts in that Patriots game. If you don't remember that they came up, it was in his second year in a new system. They were facing the New England Patriots that held the fucking St. Louis Rams to 6 points in the Super Bowl. And I think Mitch put up like 34, and it came down to a Hail Mary that came up short that Kevin White caught
By a yard.
By a yard. That was rough, dude. RIP. All right. Well, Kevin White made a catch in that game yesterday too. But with all that being said, like we know what he's going to do, and the protection calls have to be on point, whether that's from Lucas Patrick or Justin Fields, whoever it may be. Like it has to be on point. Everyone has to know what their gap responsibility is, and who their man is, because like that's going to be the challenge, right? He's going to take away the running game. He knows our pass blocking has not been good. He's going to attack that. He's going to attack our weaknesses until we're able to fucking prove like, hey, you're going to have to back off a little bit. So I think it's going to have to be something that's done early. You know what I mean? It's not going to be one of those, if the Bears don't score a touchdown in the first half, they are losing by a lot. They're going to have to start quick.
Yeah, no. And that's why I really like the idea of being able to get the ball through the air, because like to be able to stop that pass, I feel like they're going to use quite a bit of interior blitzes with the linebackers. They're going to bring their safety down into the box. I believe their safety off the top of my head, Kyle Duggar. That's a guy that they really like bringing in the box. I was just trying to get the name off the top of my head. I kept thinking of Cody Davis because he just got tossed in the IR. But that's the guy they like bringing up, and I could see them kind of giving that look that's going to give opportunities in the seam, that's going to give opportunities down the field, to where if we're able to recognize that pressure when we see it, there could be something that gets set up there. I do like you brought up a really good point here, because if the offensive line, and again, knock on wood, we already knocked on wood earlier, but like if the offensive line that we're getting is Braxton Jones, Michael Schofield, Lucas Patrick, Tevin Jenkins, and Larry Borum, this is a X factor game for Lucas Patrick. We need to see what Lucas Patrick can do at center, because like at either guard spot, it has not been good. And that's kind of been the biggest thing of me just going absolutely like AWOL on Lucas Patrick, is like the fact that Lucas is playing with his phone right now. But anyway, the biggest thing with Lucas Patrick is he just hasn't shown it. And he was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to start at center. So I've given him a little bit of that benefit of the doubt, but like we need to start seeing his value in this game. Otherwise, like we're going to have to start getting really serious about the potential of finding a fucking center like mid-season, like, cause it's getting bad. We can't, if we bench Sam Mustipher, we cannot go back to him. And if Lucas Patrick ain't at center, we need to start getting aggressive about making that move. I mean, will Ryan Poles wake up before 3 p.m. to make that move? That has yet to be seen. I don't know. He might,
tough one. Yeah.
He might wake up and eat a fucking, turkey and Dorito sandwich and go back to bed. We don't know that, but
I bet you he just puts straight up chips on bread. That's it. Just chips and mayo on bread.
Oh, I was going to say there's a lot of mayonnaise on that.
Yeah, dude. No, I agree entirely. And that's the thing. In a year, it seems that they're selling like, that's why I find it so hard to believe that they truly believe in Justin Fields, because it's not just the hits he's taking on sacks and hurries. Like, think about how many times he's letting go of the ball and getting drilled right after. How many times is he getting pushed, to the ground when he's running the ball and going towards the sidelines? Like, how many times he's taking a lot more hits than his 5 sacks a game or whatever it may be. So that makes you worry for sure. And I hope Patrick is an upgrade, but like what we saw from Schofield, let's hope in preseason and training camp he was just out of shape, because I mean he was the same as Mustipher. So
well, I think it's strange, and like I'm gonna keep an open mind with Schofield, but I think it's strange that like they're so adamant against Riley Reif moving inside, obviously. And I think that's crazy when you look at like Jason Peters playing with Dallas at like what 41, and he's moving inside. He's playing tackle. He's playing wherever they want to put him.
We're talking about Bain and Garfield here, though.
Well, I know, but like, dude, we see tackles move inside all the time. It's weird to me that you have this guy on the active roster and we haven't seen him once. That I don't know. It's
and
just
you got O-line problems, right? And you gave him Well, yeah, I think it does make a lot of sense because his contract is heavily incentivized. So if he's not playing, Poles isn't paying that money, and that's just making him blow his fucking wad.
Oh my gosh, dude. And that's just, I always talk about this mythological fucking off-season podcast where we're just gonna go nuclear for 3 hours on Ryan Poles, but like that's another point I'm gonna make if it fucking comes down to it, man.
Yeah. Another thing too, man, I'm really interested to see how N'Keal Harry's implemented. He should be back this week. If I'm not mistaken, the Bears had nobody on their injury designation for the week. Which is a beautiful thing to see. So other than the guys that are on IR that have recently gone on IR, obviously, but I would like to see how N'Keal Harry and I would like to see sets out there with Cole Kmet, N'Keal Harry, Velus Jones, and Darnell Mooney. Like, let's see those 4 guys on the field together, get some size and some speed. Because then you're creating different threats. Like when you have Pettis, and guys like Amir Smith-Marset, like none of them really give you that threat of like, if you play one-on-one on N'Keal Harry at any point, especially with a backup corner, if that's what the Patriots are going to do, that's a jump ball every single time. You throw that up. So like there was no one that gave you that element. And yeah, I think, in terms of the screen game with Velus, like I think you're going to be able to catch them off guard a little bit. That's another thing too. I don't think you're going to see much gimmicky shit from Velus this week because the Patriots will sniff that shit out.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I also hope we're not seeing him return punts personally. Hopefully we're only seeing him on kick returns. But I really believe that if they are going to do an interior blitz on us and they're going to bring a safety up in the box, we have to start getting Cole Kmet involved.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be able to take advantage of that. He's going to have the size advantage over a safety every single time. I mean, unless he's playing an absolute freak, which he's not. Like,
There's no more Cam Chancellors in the league.
You have to be able to give him, well, they usually play linebacker now, but that's a whole different
That's a whole different story. Yeah.
But you just need to be able to use.
Don't even make that fucking comparison. Dude.
I'm kidding. I'm just only making the size comparison.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't even want to get into that because that's going to be a whole thing.
That's a whole 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But Cole Kmet, we need to be able to use Cole Kmet's size to our advantage. We just have not done it. Flat out have not done it. And even when we haven't done it enough. The biggest thing last year was it always felt like once you started getting Cole in a rhythm, that's where he started to have those really good games where it'd be like 6 catches for like maybe like 84 yards. Like that's fucking beautiful from your tight end, man. Especially when you're not getting a lot of production from your wide receivers. I don't want to just shit on Dante Pettis, but like Dante Pettis is getting a lot of targets right now and Cole Kmet's not. And that I lose sleep over that at night, man. That bothers me. Like I understand like you want that six blocker in, but like any tight end but Cole Kmet can do that. Like fucking put Cole, like even Cole in the slot, have him be a big fucking slot, or even just have him
Griffin
out a little bit off
not
the line.
Jensen. Yeah, throw fucking Griffin there or
Griffin anybody. I don't like that guy we just signed from Washington that I don't even know his fucking name. Like have him block. He looks like a freaking just a mountain. You know what I mean? Like have him stand in front of somebody and just chip for, the 6th guy. Like I'm sick of us running the 6 offensive line formation. And if you want to do that, don't even disguise it. Bring fucking Riley Reef out there. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if you want to roll 6 offensive linemen, that's fine. But like, don't make Cole Kmet one of those offensive linemen. Do not punish him for being a good blocker and not allowing him to get involved in the offense. That's my Cole Kmet rant of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. I see it the same.
Yeah. But all right, we are rolling a little bit long. Obviously, it's Friday night.
The reason why my fucking shit went off is because ESPN's a fraud-ass app, and anytime you click to check a score, if you leave it up for 10 seconds, it starts playing an ad, so I apologize for that.
I flat out, I don't want to talk trash about ESPN, but I don't know if I hate any app more than the ESPN app. They're late on stories. They give that little dun-dun-dun. If you ever have your audio on, I hate it. I dislike it a lot. Bleacher Report just gives me info and just fucks off. But anyway, score predictions. We should probably roll with that first, then we'll get to let's just see score predictions first, then we'll do bowl predictions. What are you feeling, Lucas?
Yeah, I don't know, man, because the Patriots are weird. They have games where they're putting up fucking 7 points. They have games where they're putting up 15, and then they have games where they're putting up like 40. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Bears defense is actually pretty good, a lot better than the Lions. And I think it's going to be a shortened game, so I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, to be honest. I know it kind of negates what I said about the over earlier, but I think it's going to end at like maybe 50 total points, 47 total points, which I'm sure it's set at like 43 and a half. I'll go with I can't even do it. I can't pick the Bears. I'm going to go with the Patriots 23 and the Bears 17.
All right. I would probably roll. Yeah. Okay. So I would go probably 17-14. Just I'm gonna give the Bears a 17. Obviously, if it's gonna be a tight game, I feel like it's gonna be like a low scoring affair like that. I think Belichick does respect our secondary. I think you brought up a good point with the Jalen Johnson not bringing him up. I feel like that was intentional. I think they respect our secondary. They're going to try to run the ball on us more than anything. And while that will be effective because we just flat out cannot stop the run, there's just no other way to put it. I don't think they're going to go nuts. I don't think they're going to try to give a guy like Jaquan Brisker an opportunity to get his first career interception. And they're going to watch that film at what Jalen Johnson did against Terry McLaurin. And I don't think they're going to give Jacoby Myers that same level of rope to get those targets. So it's going to be a low scoring affair in my opinion. Or if
I'm so torn. That's why I'm like,
if they come out of the gate hot, it can get ugly really quick. But with how much of a second half team we are, we could also make adjustments at halftime to counteract that. I don't know. I'm going to stick with 17-14 though. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. If the Bears are going to pull it off, we're going to just have to not make mistakes. Like I don't want a turnover. I want 0 turnovers, and I want us to have a plus percentage in fucking the red zone. Like I want a red zone touchdown just so damn bad. And I want us to get to the point where in the game we're able to do that so we're comfortable taking a field goal. You know what I mean? I don't want us just to completely go all gas, no brakes all the time. Like just be able to try to win one, try to steal one against Bill Belichick.
Not only do I want a red zone touchdown, I want a red zone walk-in touchdown that is a running play with multiple options. That's what I want. I want a true, my offensive coordinator schemed up a motherfucking easy 6. That's what I want from this Bears team. Also, everything I said completely negates going with the over, so I don't like the over. I don't like the under either, though. I think this game could be really weird, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. So bold prediction. I mean, scheming up an offensive touchdown is kind of a bold prediction, but what's an individual one, I guess, that you have?
Oh, I think Justin Fields goes for 300 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns.
I like that. I mean, that would be a really good step in the right direction against a good defensive scheme. You know, even if
I think it could be like I think it could be like a 225-75 split. I think it could even be like a 260-40 split, to be honest. I do think he's getting better in terms of reading the ball, reading the field, getting the ball out quicker, hitting his hots, things of that nature. If he's able to replicate, because I think that they are going to be aggressive on defense, I think he's going to be able to get a lot of those flip passes for 25 yards, shit like that. So I think the stats, I think he might rack up some stats. I'm starting him in fantasy this week over Aaron Rodgers.
Ooh, all right.
Aaron
Rodgers, did not expect that from Lucas Perfetti this year. That's bold in itself, man.
I drafted him in every league, baby. Always.
Kudos to you, my man.
I drafted Mitch in every league too when he was here. I always, because it's like, you don't fucking want him. I'll take him with my last pick. There's major upside to him.
You know how many times I would make the Mitch move at like 11:58 just get because I'm getting so juiced up for the game, thinking Mitch is just gonna go nuts. Or
dude,
like he has a pregame interview on Fox or something. And it's like, yep, 4 touchdowns, easy.
I had a game I needed to win to make the playoffs, and I did that for the Dallas game, his Dallas game.
Man, that's when you hang out. That's when you hang on the fucking wall, dude.
My fucking meat was draped all over the side of everyone's face.
God, I don't even know if it's a bold prediction at this point. But I think Eddie gets one.
Oh, go fuck yourself. No, I'm not accepting that. You can't fucking do one interception for everything. Give me something.
All right. Fuck it. Travis Gibson gets 2 sacks for me.
Okay, I like that.
He gets 2. He's gonna wreak fucking havoc. Especially if Isaiah wins out and he gets a good matchup. I mean, he's gonna be going against a guy like Marcus Cannon, who New England's familiar with, but he's getting to the point where he's washed in his career. Like, I think Travis, if he gets a snap count, is going to have a fucking game. I feel like they've probably been amping him up into like these past 11 days to take more snaps. I've been seeing a lot of clips or a lot of pictures of Travis like involved with first team defense. So I'm hoping they're ramping him up to really take a bigger role. I've heard some takes where they say Al-Quadi Muhammad is far superior to Travis in the run game, and I don't totally buy that.
No, that's an insane take.
I think they're more here than they are here, where people are pretending they are. But I think Travis adds so much as a pass rusher that it's hard to justify keeping him off the field at this point. And I mean, on the other side, like, what are you going to bench Robert Quinn? So yeah, I think Travis is going to get 2. I think they are going to focus on Robert Quinn because I think Bill respects him. So I can see Travis Gibson having a big game.
Well, and also the Patriots, if I'm not mistaken, let up 17 sacks this year, so almost 3 sacks a game. So they're definitely susceptible. They're not the Patriots that we're used to, where it's like they have a star-studded offensive line and defensive line. There's some holes there, and Belichick's doing a good job of covering them. I believe they're 4-2, right? And they beat some pretty good teams. They beat, not that the Packers seem that good anymore, but they beat the Dolphins. Or no, I'm sorry, they lost to the Dolphins. But
they're 3-3.
Miami. They're 3-3. Yeah, they lost to the Ravens, Dolphins, and Packers. That's right. I was naming the people they lost to, and then they beat the Steelers, they beat the Lions, and the Browns. Actually, you know what, dude? Fuck that. I'm changing my prediction. Fuck that after looking at that. They beat 3 shitty teams. I don't think the Browns are actually that good. I know they have a lot of talent. Jacoby Brissett is Jacoby Brissett. If anyone's going to be able to beat him, it's his old coach, the guy that developed him. So I'm going to go ahead and say the Bears win 27-13. No, 27-20. Hammer that over. And yeah, now it all makes sense to me. Either way, they're a little bit susceptible on both sides of the ball in their fronts. So they're not untouchable. They are a good team. Belichick, it's hard to see him going below 500 at this point of the season. Usually he kind of gets rolling at this point, and the Patriots start clicking and rattling off some wins, but there's no more Tom Brady. So yeah, man, I think it's possible. I like your bold prediction. I think it's a lot better than Addy Jackson getting an interception, because I think that's a fucking cop out at this point. He's got like 4. So yeah, I do like that prediction.
Yeah. No.
Also, what were you were saying something about a stat like 2 minutes ago? No. Either way, when you're talking about how guys are being graded in PFF grades, listen to this shit that I fucking saw, dude. Okay, I saw a PFF. It was fans requesting a regrade, and it was Quinnen Williams against the Green Bay Packers. And if you watch that game, just objectively, just watched it as a fan, you would know that Quinnen Williams was tearing motherfuckers apart. He was all over Aaron Rodgers. He was doing great in the run game. Everything he was doing, like, he was tearing it apart. He was having a highlight reel filled game. They graded him at 60%, a grade of 60 or whatever. So when you throw out that fucking Roquan has a 58 grade on the year, I don't give a fuck. So they essentially, Jets fans bombarded them to ask them to regrade Quinnen Williams' game. It went up 20 percentage points. So you're plus or minus 20, depending on what jagoff you employed to go look through the film and give a plus or minus on the play. And they try to justify it with being like, oh yeah, we gave Quinnen Williams this. Like, no, it was bad, dude. It was the fact that you expanded too quickly. You have a bunch of people that are not experienced enough and don't know what they're looking at, making grades for people. And we also found out that it is 100% true. I think it was Chris Long or Travis Kelce, one of the two sets of brothers. Either way, they straight up said, yes, agents pay PFF to make their players' grades better. So why wouldn't a GM possibly send a little bit of cash over to PFF to down a grade so he can get a guy on a cheaper contract? I would assume it goes both ways. All I'm saying is the F and F stands for fucking fraudulent. It's not pro football focus. It's pro fucking frauds. And yeah, I will never accept a PFF grade. I won't. I won't accept it as support, and I won't accept it as your only leg to stand on.
You nailed it, dude. You already know my feelings on PFF. I don't think I hate a stats, quote unquote, stats company more than I hate PFF. That segment you're talking about that they had to clip and put it as a podcast, that was like one of the most scripted things I've ever seen. That was the most like tuck your tails between your legs. Like, we were so fucking wrong, and people finally called us out on it. But you know what? We just talked about that Mitch and Dallas game, and I remember Mitch getting a horrendous fucking grade for that game. If you're going to go back and give Quinnen Williams a fucking regrade, keep going back and give our boy Mitch a fucking better
or
grade.
just regrade Roquan on the year, please. Because
but you know what? Honestly, I don't even want the respect because, like, I'm with you, Lucas. I will never use a PFF grade to help my argument for a Bear in a positive light. I won't fucking use it to negate somebody else. Like, I've just gotten to the point, like, over the years of just seeing how it is and seeing the way they grade their players. Like, I can't get on board with it, man. I just can't. There's too much
fucking clown shoes.
There's too much human error. There's too much human error, man. To consider yourself a fucking statistic-based company, there's too much like eye test and error. And eye test is a good thing when it's used on a limited basis.
Can we close it out with the Jay and Silent Bob, or Jay reading the letter at the Wiener Dog stand or whatever, and replace Jay and Silent Bob with Pro Football Focus and just talk about, like, can we find a way to dub that up so it's like talking about how they eat their shit with their shit, and then end it with fucking clown shoes, because that's what it reminds me of. You know what I'm talking about, right? When they're at the computer. What the fuck is the internet?
I might have to see if Ben Affleck has fucking cameo, dude. I mean, I got Roquan to say a bunch of cool shit for us. So I mean, maybe I can get Affleck to
that just was Affleck reading that, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because I don't want to quote unquote too vulgar at this point. I mean, but hell, if you listen at this point, you already know. But like, I always love how he answered the door. He's like, "Look at these two morose looking motherfuckers right here, looking like somebody shitting their cereal."
Yeah, no, it's such a great movie.
But that's like how every PFF guy looks. So, I mean, that's where we're at.
Yeah, but we should probably close it up because the Bulls actually just made a comeback. They were down like 14, and now it's the fourth quarter, and they're down by 3.
Yeah, no doubt. Our live views definitely got absolutely drilled by the Chicago Bulls. But if you did come in, chime in, or if you watched us live, maybe if you didn't comment, we appreciate it. We appreciate any support. If you're listening to us on the podcast version, keep on listening. You know, if you guys enjoy anything, be sure to reach out to me or Lucas. Even if you hate something, like, honestly, it's some of the best banter we've ever had on Twitter. And some of the, like, my favorite accounts have come from people to be like, "Hey, your take is shit." And it's like, well, all right, I'm going to pony up and sit here for 20 minutes because we're going to have a conversation.
We're going to figure out who should be the asshole. And I'm okay with accepting that loss for sure, but I will not accept it if you're providing PFF stats.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, man. And that's a whole different era from last year of people I had to deal with the PFF stats, people who are no longer on the Bird app, but that's a conversation for another day. Anyway, that's a good place to close this out. We are the Barely There podcast. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm Duke Coughlin. You can follow me at that pod guy Duke. As always, I'm joined by the Ayatollah of Capicola, Lucas Perfetti. You can follow him at Lucas Perfetti 46 on Twitter as well. Be sure to follow the podcast over there at Barely There Pod. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to rate us. We have a 5-star rating on Spotify right now. We do not have a 5-star rating on Apple, and it's egregious. We need more. We need better ratings over there, guys. But we appreciate everyone who has done a review. I appreciate all the people who reach out. You know, any of the people that I know from back in the day, I always appreciate you guys saying you respect the hustle. You know, they usually say you're fat, Lucas, but they like you too.
That's fine.
Yeah, anyway, good spot to roll out of here. I'm Duke Coughlin. That's Lucas Perfetti, and we've been Barely There. Bear down.